Hi all, so this is a video about things that they don't tell you about being an entrepreneur. Now, I went to business school, gosh, many years ago now. So I did an undergraduate degree in business management, and I didn't end up specializing in business. I actually went into property or real estate or whatever you want to call it. But since then, fast forward quite a few years, I'm now in the position where I've set up my existing business. And yeah, it's looked very different from what I thought it would be, but I've got 10 things here which um, they don't tell you in business school about being an entrepreneur, and just stuff which I don't really hear that much on the internet. Although one or two things you've probably heard before. So I've got my list here in my notebook. So we'll start with number one. Number one, you're always working. This is true, even if you're not in front of a laptop or doing the actual task, you are always working. In your head, you're always thinking about the business. So I count that as work. Now, yes, you can do mindfulness practice, and there's all sorts of other things you can be doing to keep your mind off your work, but somewhere in your mind, you're thinking about your business. But you're always working fundamentally. You're always thinking, oh, I need to get that email out. Have I done, an invoice? Have I responded to a client? There's always something that needs to be done when you're running a business, especially when you start a business, because it's all on you. So that's it, really. Number one, you're always working. You can switch off, but it can be very difficult to switch off, especially in the early stages. Number two, you have to do everything. Unless you have a lot of capital and you've got a team in place, or you can outsource some of your work. For most business owners, you'll be starting out on your own and you'll have to do everything. So I have to do the marketing, the finances, handling obviously the invoices, actually doing the work. What else is there? There's also everything I have to do pretty much. I'll come on to this point a bit more later, but you essentially have to do everything. And it's not this sort of rosy thing that you see sometimes in films where you start off with a bunch of friends and everyone's doing their own thing to build a fantastic product or service. Of course, that happens, but for most people, cash flow, um, you know, isn't there. So you have to do everything yourself. You can't afford to spend a lot of money on hiring staff or getting the right people in to help you with work. Sometimes for the first few weeks, months, years, you have to do a lot of the tasks, if not all of the tasks, yourself. So that's number two. You have to do everything. Number three, time management is essential. Um, yeah, that's 100% true, because you have to do everything. Um, Time management is key because you need to get the balance right between the various activities that you need to do. It's very easy to focus on doing the work itself, which brings in the money, but there are all these other components when it comes to running a business. So that's why you have to be very disciplined with your time. It's not really like a 9 to 5 at all, where you can sort of clock off and get certain tasks all done perfectly each day by 5 o'clock. It's really not like that. When you're running a business, when you're starting a business, you really have to be on top of your time management, and ensure that you are allocating the correct amount of time to each of your tasks. And sometimes that will mean, going back to the point one, is that you're always working. So sometimes you do have to work late. Sometimes you have to do work. You have to work early, and that's just the way it is. But the most important thing is your time management. You have to make sure that you're focusing on things which move the needle, but also focusing on things which don't move the needle but are an essential part of running a business. So you really have to stay on top of your time. It's very important. Otherwise, you can focus too much in one area and leave the other part of the business neglected, and before you know it, you're in big trouble. Cool. So that's number three. Number four, it's hard. Yes, it's hard. um, it's again, coming back to sort of thinking about all the different things that you have to do when running a business, it is hard. It's not in terms of just running the business. It obviously impacts other parts of your life. It impacts your relationships. It impacts your health. There's other areas of your life which it can impact, and it is hard work sometimes, because if you're not thinking about the business, then if you are thinking about the business, it's very difficult to focus on other things. And there are parts of the business, parts of running a business, which are very hard to run, like with accounts and things like that. Those things aren't really my strength. But it's hard, but you have to get it done, really. And it's hard, staying up late at night and you're tired, you want to go to sleep, but you have to get certain things done. It is very, very hard, and it's probably one of the reasons why a lot of businesses fail. And to be fair, why probably a lot of businesses or a lot of people shouldn't be running businesses, because it's it is very, very difficult at times, and not everybody can really take the stress or have the right mechanisms to deal with it. So, not to say that I'm perfect. I struggle every day with the business, but I just keep plodding along as best as I can. But it is very, very hard work. It's not a case of just showing up and just getting paid. In most cases, you really have to work for every single penny that comes into the business. And when you have all these other things going on, it really can be very hard to manage those things and to get those tasks right in front of you done. Number 5, it's lonely. Going back to my previous point, more often than not, most businesses don't have people in the business who can help straight away. So sometimes it is lonely. I don't know what to say. You're working by yourself a lot of the time. So that's why you just need to make the most of your social life and your friends, your family, and try and find that, try and enjoy that presence, with other people. So yeah, it does get lonely. As I said, there's mornings, early mornings, late nights when you're just working away and everyone's asleep and you just have to work. No one's there to sort of lighten the mood. So look, it does get lonely, but there are ways to deal with it. Number 6, it's a balancing act, short-term versus long-term. So that's very true. Some of the services I offer are great in the short term, not so good in the long term. And I think a lot of business is about, doing what needs to be done now, but also getting the balance right between now and having a long-term strategy for the business. Because certain products or services you might be selling now, but you know that in the long term you want to offer another service. But maybe the service that you offer or the product that you offer now gives you what you need right now, but it doesn't actually facilitate much growth in the long term. Or your product is a one-hit wonder, for example. So this is a very hard balance sometimes between short-term and long-term. You need to think, okay, what do I need to keep the business running? But what would I ideally want the business to look like so that it can make money in the future? So that is a balancing act, which requires quite a bit of perspective and frequently looking at what you're doing in terms of your sales and standing back and saying, okay, fine, this is where I am and this is where I want the business to be. Number 7, marketing is not everything, but it's essential. This is very true. That's one thing which I have focused on a lot more this year. Whilst business has been coming in, marketing has been one of my weak points, and I know it is very, very important, because if people don't know you, then they're not going to be able to use you, or if they barely know you, they're not going to have a lot of the times the trust to invest in what you're offering. So marketing really is important. It really gets your name out there, And it's really important to distinguish yourself from competitors so that they choose you. And it is a very big task to do that. It's a very big task, and it's not a one-time task. It's not a case of putting something in a newspaper or a magazine or posting once or something like that and expecting people to know you. It doesn't work like that, at least not in my opinion. I think it's it's a continuous effort on all these different mediums to fill people with confidence that, well, firstly to let people know that you're there, but also fill people with confidence that you're not just a fly-by-night company. So it's a daily effort, marketing, whether it's marketing your brand, marketing yourself. It really is a daily effort to really get your business out there. And when you're a small business, you have to over market. You really have to over market. And probably when you're a big business as well. But I think especially when you're a small business where money's limited, you have to over market. You have to overexpose yourself sometimes so that you get a lot of attention, because you'll get a lot of attention, but sometimes, well, more often than not, the amount of people that actually are interested in your brand enough to purchase something is actually a very small percentage. So you really have to get yourself out there, and that's very important. Where are we? Number 8. Wow, we're on 8 already. Self-care is vital. You know, that is something which isn't really talked about. Certainly wasn't talked about when I was at university studying business. Self-care is very important, whether it's your diet, your fitness, your mental health. It is very important, because you're only as good. Well, this is what I believe. You're only as good as the state of your mind, the state of your body, the state of your diet as well. If you're not eating well, if you're not sleeping well, if your head's all over the place, all of these things, they all link to each other. And for most people, if those things are off, you're going to make worse quality decisions. So it's very important to focus on your health, and not really just for your business, but just generally. It's very important to do so, and to give yourself that self-care, because it's so easy just to sit down. For me, it's very easy to sit down and work away, and do 1,000 steps in a day, for example. But that's not good enough, really. And to neglect my health and to eat a lot of sugar, which I'm very guilty of. So it's a case of really looking after yourself, acknowledging that you have done a lot of work, but also acknowledging that you're a human being. And first and foremost, your health is not something which you can necessarily buy. So it's very important. It's probably the most important thing you need to look after is your health, so that you can perform for yourself, but also for your business and for other people. So really, self-care should be the number one most important thing, generally, about running a business. Number 9, you can't do it on your own. Again, this comes back to what I said earlier. You'll start a business on your own, but you can't get really successful by yourself. And for me, that's involved getting a virtual assistant and someone to help me with outbound sort of sales. So that's what I need to do, because I just can't keep on top of everything and give equal attention to everything. It's I try and I do a good job at it, but I know that if I focused in more areas than others, or if I got someone else to focus in more areas than others, then they'll do a fantastic job, which is why I've started outsourcing bits of work so that people can focus on that element whilst I focus on other elements. And that's just how businesses work and grow. Ultimately, for me, it's a case of not doing everything, but giving people different parts of the business to be responsible for, so that they can focus on it and achieve in that part of the business to the best of their responsibility. But for me, I don't see much value in doing everything myself. I do it for now. But as I said, outsourcing is very important, or getting employees is very, very important, so that you can maintain perspective as a business owner, so that you can really see where the business is performing and underperforming. And then lastly, this should be, yeah, okay. Yeah, so lastly, it's the best thing being an entrepreneur. For all the negatives or challenges that I've mentioned, being an entrepreneur is absolutely fantastic. Despite the work and all of these things, I get to choose how I spend my time. I get to spend more time with my family and my friends, but also I get to spend more time with myself and looking after myself. And it really is a very liberating and empowering experience when it goes well. You know, the small wins, you just have to appreciate every single win that you get. But it's really, really great decision that I've made. It's it's just, there's something very freeing about it. It's not for everyone, but I really enjoy it. I really like it. I like the challenges. I like the fact that every day is completely different. That I can work when I want, if that's in the morning or it's in the evening, and I can work remotely as well, if I want to. So that's really it's really good. It's really good for me personally. As I said, it's not for everyone. It really isn't. And I'm sure this list that I've read, these 10 things I've read out to you, will resonate with some of you, but might turn off a lot of people from doing business. But I can say that it really is a great experience. And I think if you're someone out there who has an idea and they want to give it a go when it comes to running a business, to give it a go. It might not end up with you actually, working for yourself, but I think it's very important to express yourself, even just from a creative perspective. Yes, a business should make money, but not every business should make a lot of money. So I think it's very important, if you have an idea inside of you, to give it a go. And if it works and you're able to work on that full time, then even better. It's an amazing thing to have an idea and to be able to create something, and to create something which people actually like. And that's something which is very rewarding for me as well, is that obviously I'm making an income, but when you see people that are very happy with your service, that's really, it puts a big smile on my face, because it shows that, I'm actually quite good at this. I'm actually competent, and people actually value what I offer. So it's a very, very great experience, and you get the feedback so quickly when you have your own business, because you're making most of the decisions, so you get the feedback almost instantly. So yeah, it is really a fantastic thing. And I hope that these 10 points, they also inspire people out there to give it a go, but also they show a degree of transparency which isn't often discussed. You see a lot of the shiny things and whatnot when running a business, but it is difficult. It is difficult, but it can be fun as well. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps someone out there. And let me know what challenges you've had when it's come to running a business, starting a business, and yeah, let's connect. Let's have a chat about it. Okay, thank you all.